This episode of the Linux Action Show is brought to you by DigitalOcean and by Ting. Go to last.ting.com and save $25 off your first device or your first month of service. Welcome to the Linux Action Show, episode 329. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Hey, Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Are you ready for me to tell folks about the big show today?
Oh my gosh, yes.
All right, well, coming up on this week's episode of the Linux Action Show, you've asked, and now we're going to answer, is there a better way to put Linux on a Chromebook? Turns out you can actually make Linux a first-class citizen on Chromebook hardware. There's a couple of different methods you can take. We'll show you the ones we went with, and on top of that, we'll show you how to use your own cloud services with a Chromebook, and here's the best part. No Chromebook required for the rest of the episode. We'll show you how to integrate OwnCloud right into your existing Linux desktop. I'm talking calendars, file sync, direct file access, all of that stuff built right in, also with your phone operating system. And then also responding to another series of questions, we'll give you our thoughts on BitTorrent Sync versus SyncThing, Dropbox, Mega, which just launched for Linux this week, and a couple of other services. We'll compare all of them under various different types of workloads and tell you which one might work the best for you. We've also got a bunch of other pointers, including some upcoming Linux hardware you might want to take a look at and all of that. It's a great show. We're going to go through and answer a ton of questions because I think a lot of you are either A, going back to school, which either means you might have just gotten yourself a Chromebook or a new machine.
This is true. A lot of you guys are doing that.
B, the summer's wrapping up and it's time for you to get down to work and get some stuff done. So we're going to make you productive on Linux after this week's episode of The Big Show. Plus, in the news segment, Red Hat's got a new tool I think you'll be using pretty soon. Canonical's trying to give developers a big hug, and there's some major games about to come for Linux. We'll tell you about all of those. Plus, we've got our feedback. But first, Matt, it is our picks.
Our picks.
Whoa, is that enough show for you?
That, you know,
that's
I
a lot of
think that's
show.
Just enough to actually spill over the side a little bit.
All right.
A little bit.
Well, we had a lot to go. We had a lot of choices for the Runs Linux this week. A lot of choices, but I thought the best way to go would be to tie our Runs Linux to the celebrity photo hacking leak scandal.
Obviously,
of course. And thanks to NBC, according to NBC, hackers hackers run Linux.
Oh, and let me guess. Today Show. Am I right?
This is the Today Show.
Of course it is.
And I was watching, I saw this, I went and got the original, I believe the original broadcast was on NBC Nightly News. This will probably get us pulled down from YouTube for playing
of course,
this.
You know, because people care about the
I want you to watch. You watch carefully. You'll be able to see it. It happens quickly, but here we go. So there's the hacker, obviously.
Oh, yes. Obviously, because
guy.
you can see bad hands, you know. They're well manicured.
Now, some people in the subreddit is like, well, maybe these aren't the hackers. Maybe this is the FBI doing an investigation.
Could be. Well, yeah, they like to do it from dark rooms.
No, this is B-roll. This is B-roll of the hackers. So here you go. Watch closely. A little Unity shot.
Other famous
there we go. And, okay, let's see what they're doing there because it happens so darn quick.
Well, you know they're evil because they have a settings thing in their dash there. And, a terminal's open.
No, look at this. This is the worst.
What are they doing? I can't.
That's a Mac OS 10 dock down there at the bottom.
What?
Look.
Oh, it's a VM. They're VMing.
It's a totes VM, Matt. Hold on, let's replay it back. Do you see that? Okay.
Their hackers are so stupid they can't even install a friggin'. I mean, wow.
Look at that. Do you see that?
Funny.
That's the Finder icon right there.
Yeah, that's Finder.
So they got VMware no, look right there. There's the VMware Fusion icon right there.
Props for them using VLC on their Mac at least. I can see that in there.
And apparently Viber too. They got a Viber icon right there in their Mac.
Some GIMP.
So, and then what's funny is, so they're running a VM on their Mac, and then they're doing TCP dump in the VM, and it looks like they're talking to Ubuntu.local. I see Ubuntu.local talking to. I was trying to get some of their internal machine names, but they're all really lame.
Well, so is
f14.le100.net and stuff like that, all super lame. But yeah, that's a TCP dump. Man,
that is so weak.
It's either a TCP dump or
do you guys remember
like
out there the Today Show from many years ago where they were discussing the internet and they were just like, what's this internet thing? It's a fad. No one cares. It's going to be gone in a week. You know, that kind of thing. These are the same people. I mean, you know.
Oh, look at this. Here's the same B-roll in the Today Show because they use the same clip. And this time it's cropped higher and you can actually see the top bar of VMware Fusion at the top.
They kind of blew it. They managed to get rid of the dock.
Yeah, they got rid of in the Today Show they got rid of the dock and you can see this is disgraceful.
This is pathetic.
So really what they were like is, well, we know that Linux is hacked. This to me implies that they intentionally went and wanted to get something Linuxy.
Oh yeah.
And they couldn't. And like, why not just go to like Shutterstock or something and get some B-roll? Like, why do you have to go fire up VMware Fusion and do like a desktop capture?
Oh, because it looks more hackery. I mean, something people aren't used to seeing. It's anytime you can develop a prejudice on the unknown. This is a great way to do it.
Sure.
I mean, clearly.
Yeah, and you know it's a real hacker too because they still have Ubuntu One in their.
Yeah.
So that's how you know they're really a hacker.
They're hardcore.
They've hacked the Ubuntu One service so that it's still worth having and using because it's still live apparently.
And they use Macs.
They also have some updates they need to install.
They probably should get on that. Maybe a little less hacking, a little more updating.
So if you'd like to see NBC's use of VMware Fusion to portray
other famous women in what many call the
that's it right there. That's the whole thing. You get the keyboard clicking, which you know is also a soundbite. Pretty great, huh?
That's just wow. You know, but it is the
Watch out for them hackers.
Today Show people.
Ironically, the only screenshots that we do have, I talked about this in Tech Talk today, of the attackers for these leaks. The screenshots are Windows machines. It's Explorer. In fact, they use Windows Explorer shots from different instances to try to identify who the person was. So, if anything, the person was actually running Windows. But that doesn't matter. The facts.
Well,
when it comes to the facts, it's just
the facts
NBC,
are completely moot issue. And honestly, it's like, okay, you're a public figure. You know, if my bodily parts end up on the web or whatever, you know, there's only so much you can do. You know, and so. I put it back to the responsibility being with the person that did it. Don't put your stuff in the cloud. I don't put anything of importance on a hard drive. I don't even keep financial stuff on hard drives. I don't. I'm very.
Oh man.
And if I do, it's on a machine that has no internet access.
I don't know if I even want to get into that debate.
So yeah, I'm hyper paranoid.
You gotta have control of your data, and that's that's why as open source advocates and Linux users, one of the things that we fundamentally advocate about an open platform is that it is really the only way, top to bottom, full stack, to have that kind of control and insight into what is managing your data and how you do that. Is it doesn't matter that it's an open platform. It also matters in how you do it and what protections and tools you use yourself. And it's one of the reasons we're doing today's episode. Is a lot of this is about getting your own data under your own control. And what I want to show folks at the end of today's episode is not only can you manage it yourself and have your own control of your data, but at the end of it, you will walk away with a better end-user experience. It actually... See, when I made this, I was really resistant to making the change that we're going to talk about today, and because I felt like the commercial services like Google Apps and Dropbox were going to provide me a better end-to-end solution, and I'm a busy person. I didn't want to worry about it, and I was sticking with that. And now that I've gone through all of this, it's so much better than it was when I was using the proprietary closed commercial services that I can't wait to tell you guys about.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and one of the, honestly, one of the key ways, one of the key enablers I am doing that is with our first sponsor, and that is DigitalOcean. Go over to DigitalOcean.com right now and get last September in the back of your mind while I tell you a little bit about DigitalOcean. It's a simple cloud hosting provider dedicated to offering the most intuitive and easy way to spin up a cloud server. And users can create a cloud server in under 55 seconds, and pricing plans start at only $5 per month. They get you 512 megabytes of RAM, a 20 gigabyte SSD, one CPU, and a terabyte of transfer connected to Tier 1 bandwidth all around the world. DigitalOcean has data center locations in New York, San Francisco, Singapore, Amsterdam, and London. Their interface is simple and intuitive, but yet extremely powerful and capable. And power users can replicate that interface on a much larger scale with DigitalOcean's straightforward API. And what's awesome about that is DigitalOcean has such a strong developer community and Linux enthusiast and open source advocate community that you're seeing a lot of really powerful open source tools crop up around DigitalOcean's API. Things that allow you to plug DigitalOcean into a Puppet or Chef management scheme, or applets that let you manage DigitalOcean droplets from your Unity menu bar, or bash scripts that let you start and stop servers and services on those servers and make image backups before you make changes from the command line. I have it in a Quake terminal. I drop it down and I execute something. It's amazing. It's awesome. And that's because of the community support around that API, because it's such a great API. But you probably heard the news this week. Even bigger than that, even more exciting than that, DigitalOcean has now announced Core OS support on DigitalOcean. And what is awesome about this is DigitalOcean worked with CoreOS directly to make this happen. So go over to DigitalOcean.com. Use the promo code last September when you check out and get a $10 credit. And you can start learning CoreOS right now on a server up in the cloud powered by an SSD drive connected to Tier 1 bandwidth. It's amazing because you can take snapshots, you can back them up. And let's be honest, CoreOS, the way it works, you don't want to do this under virtualization on your desktop. You don't want to do that. Go set up a CoreOS cluster on DigitalOcean. They have hourly pricing available. This is a unique opportunity to learn. And Core OS will be working with DigitalOcean to deliver updates through update channels to your Core OS instances. You can move containers around. It's incredible because DigitalOcean is also able to leverage their private networking, so that way you can use the private networking feature to set up your etcd and things like that. They have a series of tutorials over on their website right now. This is amazing. This is an opportunity for you to build local infrastructure and remote infrastructure all over the web across various services for incredible value and spin them up as you need it. You've got a launch day, you've got a big project, you turn it on. You build something you think one day you might want to make it super responsive or available all over the world. You build it on Core OS, and then when that time comes, you can simply distribute and move forward. You can move it around. And DigitalOcean is now part of that. That's because they're tuned into this stuff, and they're working with Docker. They're working with CoreOS. They work with the community. Go over to DigitalOcean.com. Last September is the promo code you want to use. Last September will get you a $10 credit. You grab that $5 rig, you'll be able to try it out for 2 months for free. You could learn CoreOS for 2 months for absolutely
Isn't
free.
that nuts?
On production quality servers up in the cloud that you have full root access to right now.
That's right.
DigitalOcean.com. Last September, CoreOS is changing up the Linux server space. Red Hat sees it. Everyone sees it. Rackspace sees it. And now you can go play with it absolutely free. It's amazing the way you can take open source software like this, enrich yourself, make yourself better, make yourself intellectually stimulated, make yourself more employable, build a real solution, and you can play with it for free for 2 months for absolutely free last September. DigitalOcean.com.
Definitely check that out. Something I was telling Chris about earlier that I discovered is I am actually, for a client/friend of mine, I'm actually putting together a WordPress website. And I'm like, okay, so I got it all built up on Dio, and I need to actually get it into their name. What do you know? They have the ability for me to literally transfer my droplet to his new account.
Oh, that's sweet.
With a code. I mean, I'm not talking about FTPing up and down and moving files and doing a dance. I'm talking about boom, click, bam, done.
So now,
That
so you
is
can build
awesome.
it.
I
You
can
get it just
build
the way
it.
you want, and then when it comes time to complete project, here you go.
Send it.
Have
Done.
at it.
Here you go. Oh, and by the way, you know, if you want me to make some changes or whatever, I can still hold on to that old droplet. I can just kind of freeze that up or whatever.
Make a snapshot backup.
Make a snapshot backup.
Boom.
Come back, make some updates, send it on to him again. He can kill the old one, get the new one. I mean, how awesome is that?
All powered by Linux.
All powered by Linux, guys.
DigitalOcean.com last September when you check out. Big thank you to DigitalOcean.
Oh, I love those guys.
So here's something that may or may not stir the pot up a little bit. You know, every now and then when I talk about a new editor, people get all fired up.
Oh, yeah.
Get all fired up. And there's an editor in the graphical space that folks love. It's called Sublime Text. I've got Sublime Text right here. I've used it for a long time. I take my notes with Sublime Text when I did client stuff. I still love to use it for just quick config stuff. It's got syntax highlights. It's got a command structure, a plugin architecture. But A, it's a GUI app. B, it's proprietary.
Yes.
And C, it doesn't run in the terminal because of the whole GUI thing. So that's where Slap Editor comes in. Or just Slap. It's a Sublime-like text editor for your terminal.
Oh, cool.
And, of course, it is open source. It does require you have Node.js. But if you got Node.js installed, you just do, once you have Node.js installed, which is just on, like, Arch.
Yeah, that's
super easy. Or any, I'm sure all the other distros that are like Arch. There's no distro like Arch. What am I?
That's funny. No, I'm just kidding.
But you just do npm install -g slap, and once you get slap installed, you've got yourself the slap editor. And here it is, Matt. Ready for the big reveal?
Do some slapping. There we go.
Here's slap right here. And one of the
Wow.
neat things you can see, it's
I
got
like
a little syntax highlighting. You got your numbers on the side. You got on the very left far side, you got your file system you get to browse. So you can go over there. It's got a pretty nice dialog system that comes up, so I can go here, browse through all of my stuff, see if there's any files I wanted to open up. Maybe like I'll go in here to
It
documents.
looks nice and navigatable. I can pop in, pop out, get it done.
Oh, totes, Matt, totes. See, I can go in here. I could go look at. See, I can go in and filter.
Well, it feels like the flow is natural.
It makes it real easy if like
Yeah.
you're in an SSH session too, but you're
Oh, tell me about it, right?
And you've also it also brings up like command boxes. Like here's F2, and you can get some commands for help. And when you go to quit, it'll give you like a prompt, and it's overall it's okay. I mean, I'm not really going to say I'm going to use it that often.
Well, it's a replacement for a GUI editor. Of course not, because you're totally two different groups of people. You're either if you're in a command line editor, this is for you. I mean, come on, this is great.
This is like exactly. If you like your Sublime Text, you like some of your same key mappings. but you need something that works in an SSH session or you want something on the terminal, this is a good way to go. There's ways to make it work with your mouse, too. It'll do mouse support, which is kind of nice, which means that it makes links in a document clickable. If you go through here, too, you'll see that I can turn on some Markdown syntax highlighting, so in here I can get
that's important.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, that
nice.
just sold me big time. Yeah, I could definitely see this kind of deal, Droplet, actually being really helpful.
Exactly. This is exactly what I was thinking is you put it on a VPS, you put it on a Droplet, you've got it available to you.
That's it.
And for some folks, out there, they're going like, what? Wait a minute. You mean you're talking that's not Vim? Or wait a minute, that's not Emacs? I understand.
I don't. For me, it's like, what the editor that works great for you may not work so great for me. For me, this speaks to me personally because it has a flow that makes sense to my backwards little brain.
This is what I was thinking.
I like
it. For some folks, it gives you a little bit more of a GUI-like experience in the command line. So Slap, it's Slap Editor. It is free. It is open source. You do have to have Node.js installed, and then just npm install -g Slap.
What's to dislike? It's another great option.
You can give it a go.
Yeah,
you can give it a go.
Give it a run.
I'm not saying I'm switching.
Spend a little time with it, massage it, love it, see what happens.
So the weekly spotlight pick, we haven't done a distro in so long. I felt like it was time to sit down and say, hey, everybody, here's a distro you might want to go check out. If you hear Matt and I talking about things like Antigros and Xandros and the latest versions of Ubuntu and OpenSUSE, and you hear us talk about things like Systemd and GNOME 3.12 and Epiphany Web, all these things, right? And you're always sitting there going, God, these guys are so screwed up.
Yeah, it's like, what are they doing?
What is their problem? Bunch of Linux hipsters. Well, I got a Linux for you. It's called Simplicity Linux 1410, and it's based on Puppy Linux.
Oh,
yeah, which we're fans of here.
Yeah,
you got two different spins here. You got the netbook spin, which surprise, surprise, is aimed at users who tend to do things online, but still want a pretty professional-looking desktop. It runs LXDE as the window manager.
Okay.
WBAR is the dock, and it comes complete with Firefox and the Tor browser pre-installed.
Very, very nice.
Then you got yourself the desktop 1410 spin. These just came out last week. It's aimed at users who want a full-featured desktop Linux. It comes complete with LibreOffice, Wine, Java, VLC, and a host of other applications. And as with the Netbook edition, it also comes with Firefox and Tor built in, and it uses LXDE and WBAR. You ready to take a look, Matt?
I want some screenshots. I need screenshots.
Here we go. So this is I just fired up here in VirtualBox, and you can see you get this little LXDE welcome screen here.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, and you see up here they got some stuff pre-set up for you.
Yeah, for a puppy release, that's actually
and you can click this button,
surprisingly good,
and it brings you here's a first time little setup thing, so you can set up your language, you can set up your 3D graphics and all that stuff. There's my dock down there.
That is actually, dude, this is something I could actually plug people into, and they're going to not be like, ugh, they can actually use it. This is great.
I think this is it's a more traditional Linux desktop.
Yes.
There's a lot of things about it that feel when I go in here and I start using it. There's
well, the setup is just really clean.
Yeah, it is nice. I agree with you there. And when you go into the applications,
nice.
There's things about it that feel a little old school, but at the same time, I could see how that could be really appealing to people.
Depending on who you're coming from, a lot of people that I've dealt with in the past, I don't deal with them as much anymore, but they don't want the new fancy, bouncy, glowy thing. They want it to just make my computer work like it used to before the viruses ruined it. Kind of thing. Those kind of folks. Yeah. This is great.
Yeah, exactly. And it's low resources.
Yes.
It's based on Puppy. It's a little big for a Puppy release, but hey, other than that, it's not bad. And I think one of the things that I took away from it was I like the idea here that you could take it's LXD. I mean, I think I prefer LXQT, but maybe that'll be down the road. I like the idea you take LXDE and you just tweak it in a few spots to make it a little more modern, a little nicer. You give a few wizards on top of the package manager.
Makes a great base.
And the X11 has an X11 setup wizard and stuff like that. And for a traditional distro, it smooths over some of those rough spots that more modern distros have sort of automated, but still gives you the full manual control.
$10,000 question: what's package management feel like? Are we still using .pups and all that? Or?
Yeah, but it has a. I was just trying to start it here, but I'm having some mouse problems with my VM. It has a. I can't get my mouse in there. Otherwise, I would show it to you. See
I hear you. Yeah, the mouse captures.
Watch, here it goes. So go across and then lose the mouse.
Yeah.
Go across the screen and then lose the mouse. But it does have... go across the screen and lose the mouse. But it does have the Puppy package manager.
Okay, and so it's using the same technology. Because I've had mixed results with it, depending on how you look at it.
And lose the mouse. And, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do a review of VM software here at some point, and it's going to be on fire.
Yeah, sometimes I do think about dropping VirtualBox because of these little things like this that don't seem to happen in VMware, but then VMware has its own set of problems.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really, there's no VM that doesn't have its annoying little
No, they
issues.
all suck. They
really do.
But it does come with a puppy.
So you got some, and then Puppy's got a reasonably good package situation. It's kind of hit and miss in some areas, but as long as you know what you're doing, it's actually quite cool. And that looked quite attractive. It's for a puppy release, it's actually
exactly.
not bad. Yeah.
It's a puppy release. I think you could actually recommend to people.
I think so.
Not that you can't do it with most puppies, but most puppy releases they're a little rougher. I don't want to get all stereotypical.
I go back to anything is usable if it's maintained by someone else. I don't care what it is. That's always been my philosophy. I can park any person that's never used a computer in front of the most advanced Mac or Windows machine you want, and they're going to be just as mystified as if you park them in front of a puppy machine.
Chat room is chiming in saying that what we should do is use QEMU. And
yes, I've been kind of leaning that way.
There literally though have been since. It's funny because if we didn't even mention the mouse thing on air, nobody would say anything. And now if you look in the chat room, there's seven different things we could try to fix that mouse problem.
Well, the only one that's really speaking to me is possibly not being a waste of my time is the QEMU. I can never say that, pronounce it. That might be. I mean, that at least is something I haven't tried.
I'll use Vert Manager and libvirt and KV. No, it's fine.
The first one that says "Win for Lynn" gets slapped upside the head.
You can make it work. I think maybe we should do a virtualization roundup, built-in virtualization, VirtualBox, VMware, and a few other things. Parallels. One of these types, but they all have their drawbacks.
Yeah.
If you want a good experience, you got to go native. Still,
you really do.
Yeah,
you really do.
All right, Matt. Let's do the news.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com. Mac, over to las.ting.com, las.ting.com. Why? Because Ting is mobile that's on your team. It's mobile that makes sense. My mobile service provider and Matt's mobile service provider. Matt, I am rocking the Nexus 5, as you probably well know by now on the Ting network. Get ready for this, because, see, one of the things I've been doing is I've got 3 phones on Ting right now.
3 phones!
And one of them is an iPhone, one of them is my Nexus 5, and one of them is an HTC One. Let's see, I feel like I'm missing.
So you got like 2 Androids and an Apple fruit.
And one of the Androids is running Android L. On the Ting network. And what's great about it is the reason why I can test these 3 phones, it's not like I'm rolling in money.
No.
It's because I only pay for what I use. So each line is flat $6.
Makes sense.
And then it's just the usage for that line on top of that. So Ting takes my minutes, my messages, my megabytes, and they add them all up at the end of the month. Whatever bucket I fall into, that's what I pay, plus the $6 for the line, and any taxes the man's got to take. So I've got this Nexus 5 on there. Matt, can you guess how long it has been since I have plugged this Nexus 5 Android L phone into an outlet, and I will give you a hint. It currently has 63% charge left.
Well, clearly you must have charged it last night.
You would think so.
I would think so. I mean, that's what I would have
What's it say right there, Matt? What's it say right there? What's it say? What's it say right there? Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on.
That's left.
That's left. That's right. That would be cheating.
We want right.
What's the date? Okay, there's the date. There's the date. What's see that right there? That's the 5th.
That is going to be on the 5th.
And today's the 7th.
What?
Today's the 7th.
And then, of course, how many days you got left on top of it?
Well, you see, it's projecting 5 days
Okay,
left.
but still, you charged this on the 5th.
It's projecting 5 days left. Now, I've only taken 2 phone calls, so that is part of it. But the new Android L is unbelievable, and it's about to come out too, and it's running great on the Nexus 5. And guess what? Ting's got the Nexus 5.
Power management, kids.
And it's kind of amazing. Because I've been running Firefox OS and Sailfish OS and Ubuntu Touch on here, and I was like, well, I'll try out L for a little while. And then, the performance of L
You're just like,
is unbelievable. And the battery life of L, well, it's incredible. So it's really exciting because being able to experiment with this has been really gratifying. And I still believe the Nexus 5, now with Android L on the Ting network, is really the ultimate combo.
Nice.
You can get started by going to last.ting.com. That'll take $25 off your first device, like the Nexus 5. If you've got a Ting-compatible device, they'll give you a $25 service credit. Ting also has no-hold customer service if you call them at 1-855-TING-FTW. That's really sweet. And one of the things that's really powerful about Ting is they have an incredible dashboard. That's something as somebody who doesn't necessarily want to have to call, even if they have no whole customer service. I want to be able to just manage it all right there in the dashboard. I have multiple devices under my control, super easy, quick snapshot of where I'm at. I give each phone its own nickname. The billing is so clear as to which phone's costing me the money, why and how. I can set up alerts and messages. I can break out the bill if I need to. I have individual profiles. I have like Chris's Nexus 5, and the voice forwarding rules are this, and voicemail rules are this, or caller ID and forwarding is this. I have it for each phone, which is great, so that way I can set it once, and if I need to change it for any of the phones, I can change it just from the dashboard, and it applies to the phone, so I don't have to go get my phone and enter in some archaic code combo to do it. And of course, the Ting dashboard also makes it really easy to just turn a phone on or off as well.
Oh, that's great, especially if you got a nephew who's grounded.
Oh, yes, it is good for that. And the other thing that's really awesome about Ting is they are smartphone enthusiasts themselves, and they love to have an Android pick every week, and we're here. Kyra's got an app pick that I think you and my wife Angela might be all about, Matt.
Love checking out garage sales, but have a hard time keeping track of all of them? I'm Kyra, and this is Ting's App of the Week.
Woo!
Yard Sale Treasure Map pulls garage sales from Craigslist and displays them on a map. The app displays your local map and lets you know how many sales are going on in your area. Tap a location to view more sale info.
There you go.
Check out the Street View, or let Google help you navigate there. You can also tap the menu icon to see a complete list of garage sales in your region. Tap the post to find the location on your map. If you're a casual Saturday yard sailor, you're probably cool with the free version. If you're a little more of a hardcore thrift shopper, paying $2 gives you access to tons of extra features. The paid version lets you sort by individual days, create a route to navigate you to multiple garage sales, search for stuff, and more. Yard Sale Treasure Map is available on Android and iOS. You can find a link to Google Play beside me, and both links in the description below. If you're interested in more app reviews, click subscribe in the top right. Thanks for watching.
Last.ting.com. Also, you can follow them on Twitter, TingFTW on the Twitter. I think I'm going to tell Ange about that app when she gets here for the faux show in a little bit.
Well, I tried, and this is a big time saver for me because I try to, especially like when I've got hold of the car, I try and source like in bulk.
Yeah.
And so if I can like treasure map that out, just like bam, 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 get there first thing in the morning. Yeah.
All right, Matt, you ready to hear about the new tool you'll probably be using soon to set up the disks in your Linux box?
Ooh.
It's coming from Red Hat, and it's a GUI that sits on top of a tool that already exists for the Fedora and Red Hat installer. It's called Belvilt, I think is how you say it, Belvilt? Belvilt dash GUI, because it's the GUI component of it. It's an open source storage tool designed by Red Hat for configuring disks and file systems. A utility called Belvilt, whatever.
Yeah.
It uses a Python library used for the storage configuration by Red Hat's Anaconda installer. It's already used by that right now. And one of the cool side effects of this is, and here's the tool, Matt. It looks kind of like GNOME Disk, but it's not based on GNOME Disk.
It feels a little bit like a marriage between gparted and GNOME Disk.
So you might be wondering, why not gparted, right?
Yeah,
and
why not?
We just talked about gparted, just hit its 10-year mark, right? The reality is the gparted is just simply not capable of managing some of the things that newer, more modern Linux installations might need, like some of the more advanced features of ButterFS, snapshots, subvolumes, deduplication, compression, those kinds of things. And then there's GNOME Disk, but GNOME Disk is intentionally simple. It lacks certain RAID capabilities and LVM capabilities and things like that intentionally. Yeah. So Red Hat needed a tool that was capable of managing more modern capabilities of Linux file systems and disks. And also something that, this is the part I really like, because they're sitting on top of an existing tool. You can launch this GUI tool based on GTK3, and then it can take your existing disk configuration and spit out an Anaconda installer answer file. So next time you go to reload, if you have some complicated ButterFS with sub-volume setup or something like that, Anaconda can read that file, and even if your Anaconda don't want none, it can still set that disk up just like you had it.
Yes,
I know.
Yes,
I think it's really neat. So
I like what they're doing with that.
Of course, you're gonna have more text mode features added. It's not based on gpart at all. It's also not none of the code is based on GNOME Disk. They are using the XBED protocol too, so other applications could embed this into their application, even regardless of their toolkit. It remains under heavy development, with other features expected to come out in the next few months, such as RAID and ButterFS features being exposed soon.
Interesting. I like where they're going with it. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would like to see it show up in other distros. This also
absolutely.
deprecates, like the, on Fedora boxes you have like system-config-LVM. This replaces that.
I'm going to wager it's already in the AUR. I'm just gonna. If it isn't, it is in like an hour.
You know what? Should I go check?
Yeah,
Because
you know it's gonna be. You know it's gonna be.
That's hilarious.
Everything's in the air.
You know, even because I don't know. It might not because they just announced, but you know it will be.
Fun story. Lost my grocery list. I was really frustrated. I went to the AUR and I was able to install it. It was great.
It is in
I'm
there.
totally lying, but it was awesome.
It is already in the AUR.
Yeah, see?
It is already in there.
Boom. See, this is why I can't completely leave Arch. I mean,
Yeah.
like I've tried a couple times, and
Yeah.
I do have other Debian boxes for other things, but my primary machine remains this for a reason.
Hilarious.
Wow.
Hilarious. And also, I think it looks like a good GUI, too. I'm looking forward to having a nice graphical disk management tool.
Yeah.
Hey, remember WebOS? Guess
Oh,
what?
yes. That's still a thing.
Let me tell you about LunaOS. That's right. LunaOS is a respin of the Open WebOS project, which, of course, is a respin of proprietary WebOS. Now, this is the Afgado release. It's going to support the touchpad from HP and the Nexus 4.
Whoa.
Not the 5, but the 4.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
Alfredo release, the first of many coffee-themed rolling releases due to arrive each month, supports the 4 and HP's touchpad, which is good because there's a lot out there.
Right.
What are you thinking of this theme, Matt?
I actually don't hate that. That's
Not too bad,
it's
right?
Not. It's. I don't like the blue text. Okay, I'm gonna go on. I think it's too. They're trying too hard with the blue text, but I do. Well, I don't know. It does feel kind of iPhone-y. I don't. I mean, it's like I gotta. To be fair, I actually got to have it in my hands and play with it. But first impressions is that they're still kind of finding their normal.
So you've got the Alfredo release is essentially at alpha stage. It comes with a caveat of use at your own risk, of course. Features not yet implemented in Alfredo. Bluetooth, the accelerometer, the camera, ALS.
Okay.
Audio and Wi-Fi should work. Might be buggy.
This is an alpha? Is this what this is? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fair.
This
that's fair.
Release is also the first to showcase a completely rewritten Luna Sys manager called Luna Next, which advances more modern components such as WebKit 2, Qt, and QML. The new release also implements the new rolling update mechanism. The project is still working on making that automated, however.
Interesting.
So-
I think for someone that wants to like kind of contribute and test, I think this is really cool.
Yeah, here's where I struggle with it is where does this twice now failed, maybe 3 times failed operating system, not fully failed, but essentially failed product, where does it fit when you've already got a operating system that also uses web standards, is backed by a major web player, and has thousands of developers already using it with shipping hardware, aka Firefox OS? Where does WebOS or LunaOS fit when Firefox OS is a thing that's gaining traction right now?
So my perspective on it is this. Whoever figures out how to take old, obsolete, no longer being updated Android phones and makes them useful again with a brand new OS wins. Whichever you guys do that wins the game, because that instantly becomes the Linux of old phones. I mean, it becomes the puppy Linux of old phones. That's value that I can then...
I could see that.
I could actually see that being very valuable.
I come to a carrier, I say, hey, carrier, and here's something else kind of along those lines that's kind of a... maybe a little ammo in there. The other thing that the Alfredo Alpha here includes is libhybris, which is that portability layer that allows the Linux OS that Ubuntu Touch is using as well to reuse Android graphics drivers and the Android telephony drivers. So you can take that, and libhybris will allow you to use those Android drivers to get like the GPU acceleration. They also, now they don't have it yet, but they plan to have hardware acceleration, sensor integration, and camera features using libhybris.
Right.
So this very well could be that operating system. They go to carriers and say, we can support this range of phones right out of the box. You come up with your own image, you flash it, there you go.
And here's why the carrier is going to care if their marketing person has a clue. They're going to present it this way. They're going to say, look, let's accept the fact that you have thousands and thousands of people that are using old phones that are never going to upgrade until it breaks. It's just going to happen. And I know lots of people like that. You, however, want a revenue stream from these poor suckers because you're not raping them enough on your mobile costs. So you want to actually get some extra goodies in there. Here's a way to slide some new stuff up into that OS and, maybe throw in some big brand this and big brand that, and music stores and videos.
Brianna partnership, new Beyonce album.
Exactly. Just add them to death. This is a great thing for carriers, but as far as the end user that wants a vanilla install, I think it's also valuable from that perspective for old phones as well.
Yeah.
Because that's the niche that's not really being tapped on yet.
Word. And that is a niche that just continues to grow and get bigger and bigger.
That's right.
So you know who Canonical loves, Matt?
Everybody.
Developers, which are part of everybody. So they're making it easier for developers to get going on Ubuntu. Genius move. But I'll tell you, even though it's a genius move, I was a little bummed when I read this at first, because I read Canonical releases Developer Tool Center. Makes it easy to install. And then I didn't see the Android Studio part and just saw SDK and Ubuntu, and I thought, holy crap. Right. Canonical's finally done it. They released the Ubuntu Desktop SDK. This is what developers should use when they're writing applications for the Ubuntu Desktop. Finally, no, it is not that, but it is still very cool.
Okay.
And perhaps one day could deliver that.
Okay.
So it's called the Ubuntu Developer Tool Center. It's a project. It's created to make it easy to set up developed environments on Ubuntu. The idea being developers are lazy because humans are lazy, so you set up an Ubuntu box, and within a couple of commands, you got your full development environment. And the Android development environment can be one of the ones particularly a bit of a pain in the butt to get set up.
Sure. Yes.
So here's what it actually works. And I think this is really cool. It's in alpha right now, but you use this Ubuntu Developer Center command, and it's essentially like UDC Android.
Okay.
And then it goes out there and it pulls down all of the different tools, all the different stuff you need, and sets it all up. Sets up PPAs.
Ooh,
all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
Essentially, it's like, hey, you know that software center we have? Yeah, don't pay any attention to that software center. If you want to use real tools and you need to get actual lots of software installed on your machine, we've set up a completely separate tool to do that for you. Just pretend like the software center doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't know. You ever feel like that there's like warring camps at the company? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I think it was like they were like, "Hey, we need to do this, but our own methods to do this really sucks. We got to come up with something else."
Is it kind of like the software center is dead? Long live the software center. I mean, is that kind of how it feels? It's just kind of
yeah. So the command I believe is called UDTC, and it's. I think this is a great idea. I think if Canonical can position Ubuntu as, hey, when it comes time for you to develop for Linux, you want to use Ubuntu as your base platform because that's what Valve's focusing on. That's what Lightworks, all these different guys focus on. And now we've made it even easier, which is a few commands to get your entire development environment set up.
I like this idea, but why not do something with the friggin' software center? I mean, just a little update, just a little.
What, Matt?
Something.
What?
I mean, it's like I'm trying to put new people in front of this, and they're just like, ugh.
I got an idea what they could do. They could release an update that takes it out of the sidebar.
Who'd have thought, right?
Just remove the icon out of the sidebar and put just a link to the web version.
Because it kills me because it's like Linspire's old CNR. It was a great source of discovery, but it just needs a little more polish to actually, be even halfway as good as the old CNR. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The entire experience is so painful.
Here's a couple things they're going to do that's cool with the Ubuntu Developer Tool Center. They're going to track the latest LTS and the latest development release, so 14.10.
Okay.
Also, I think that's pretty genius because I think that's pretty much exactly how developers work. They're usually either on the LTS or they want the cutting edge because they're building against something they're going to be launching in the future.
Either or, absolutely.
Yeah. So a good move on their part.
But I think I like where you're going with this as far as in the future. If they just basically take the software center, put it out in a field, and just kind of launch a mortar at it, boom, destroy it, start completely over, and come up with a inclusive development and or end user environment that's just kind of all in the same bucket. It's not all competing against each. I don't know.
Yeah. And in the meantime, while they're working on that actual Ubuntu SDK, that I never even really thought about the fact that people would expect one, but then talking to developers, they do expect to have an SDK before they start targeting a platform. I mean, it makes sense for them. Anyways, when they do have one that isn't just so mobile focused and it is really ready to, hey, we're ready, we have Unity, next shipping, we're ready for you to make Qt, QML apps for the desktop.
Seriously?
All you have to do is install, UDTC Ubuntu SDK, and then it'll be on their desktops, just like that.
Well, and from the development tools that I've looked at that exist already for Linux, they exist, but they're pretty rough around the edges. I mean,
Pope's in terms like, we do have an SDK. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
No, that's true. Okay, and they do. I've not had a lot of experience with it, but based on what I've heard from other people,
I've looked at it. No, it looks like it's half baked for desktop. I mean, it looks like it's probably something pretty solid for mobile.
Right.
And I think
for people I've spoken to, they were just kind of like, yeah, but it's not really offering what we need. And they're just able to get a different experience.
But you think about that too, like maybe there'd be other ways for other folks to work with them down the road. Like maybe Valve could come down or Unreal and say, wouldn't it be awesome if the Unreal folks could come to to Canonical and say, could you give us a command where they execute these commands and it sets up the Unreal Editor and it sets up all of this stuff on all of the things they need?
That would be cool. Yeah, that would be awesome. And I think they're going the right direction. I think once they kind of bring it back together, there's a lot of potential there, and I'm excited for that. I want to see this succeed. I think that'd be awesome. So.
I happily await the rebranded Qt Creatorship by Canonical. So let's do a Linux gaming roundup before we move on. There's a lot of big AAA titles coming to Linux soon, and I'll tell you about the one I'm looking forward to the most. But let's start with Sanctum 2, one that's meh on my list.
Okay.
But it's coming soon. It'll be out for $10.99. But here's the one I like. Borderlands 2, it's official.
Yep.
Borderlands 2, and it's been out for Windows for a while, but here's the best part, is the folks that are porting Borderlands 2 have a really good rep, Aspire, and Aspire is the one that just recently ported Civ, and it was considered a very good port, a very, very solid port. They confirmed via Twitter that they are now working on the Borderlands port, and it's already showed up in SteamDB. Dead Island is coming, as well as Wasteland 2. Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth is also coming. That one will be in October for 50 bones. Wasteland 2 is going to be 60 bones. So we're starting to see some major games. I want to give you a little bit of a warning, though.
Okay.
Some of these are available right now for pre-order. I think some of them are safe to pre-order, and some of them are not. I'll give you an example. Like, I think Wasteland 2 would be safe to pre-order.
Okay.
If you pre-ordered Borderlands 2 today,
okay,
I do not believe, even if you purchased it under Linux, I don't know for sure, but I don't think Aspire gets credit for that purchase until they have published the Linux version in the Steam store and said it's for sale. So if you pre-purchase before they have done that, I do not think Aspire gets credit for it. I'm not 100% sure, but if, like myself, one of the reasons I buy these games is to vote with my wallet to show support for the Linux desktop, it is sometimes worth waiting. Because in the past, one of the things I've done is I've bought ahead when they were on sale, knowing they were coming to Linux.
Does the what is it, Aspire? Do they have a blog with an RSS feed that people can just set to check? You know, that would be
They've been good on Twitter. I don't know about their blog.
Okay, so check on Twitter. Or just follow them on Twitter and watch there. When they green light it, go get it. That's how I would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the journey down.
Because Borderlands, I literally lost my everything, as you can probably, folks on Google Plus will attest to, lost my lunch there. You're excited? Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah,
Borderlands 2 is awesome.
Borderlands 2 is great, and what's neat is it's like making like big news now. Like it's being covered on IGN, and you can see too like how it's paid off for Aspire to do a good port, because now it's like Borderlands is being ported to Linux. Oh, and it's by Aspire, and then like those two things together make it a big story. So
exactly.
Really
cool. It allows us to basically point to something and say big title. You know, that's cool.
No word on the exact window. However, not only is it already shown up in the Steam base, but for some Steam clients, I think it's also showing up with an install button if you've already purchased it.
Yeah, I've heard people have had an install button that doesn't actually do anything, but it may be part of it, just kind of bookmarking.
It doesn't do anything, but I think it's a sign that it's getting close.
Yes.
It's getting very close.
Hey, they got the company to port it. That's the big thing. They're not trying to do it internally, which usually means spin our wheels for 3 years.
All right, Matt.
Yes.
Our next story.
Okay.
It's unbelievable. One of the top voted stories in the subreddit this week.
Oh, boy.
You ready for this?
Okay, I think I'm ready.
Cool old term is dead. Long live cool retro term.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Cool old term was a boilerplate name that the developer chose at the beginning of the project. It stuck, and then it got some popularity. However, wasn't the final term. Was never going to be called that, so he's changed it to cool retro term. It keeps it familiar. And are you ready for the cool acronym?
Yes.
CRT.
Oh, dude, that's
cool retro
genius.
term, CRT, right?
That's easier to remember, actually.
New features also with the update. Mouse support, color support, improved key combos, and also beginning work on a Mac OS X port as well. So
that's true. Mac's got the
for
term.
dim Mac users.
For dim Mac users.
Yeah, so cool retro term, CRT. And we'll have a link to that in the show notes.
That is cool.
Like, when I was going through the top voted stories, I'm like, really? Well, you know what? Okay, it's pretty cool. It's actually pretty badass. It is quite cool
because, I mean, the old thing we used to highlight a lot is dying, but here's a replacement. That's cool.
Yeah, boy, no kidding. We finally get away from CRT monitors. We get nice, beautiful, high-resolution LCD screens, and what do?
4K.
We are the worst.
CRT, that 4K.
We are the worst.
Yes.
What is our problem? You know what? And the worst thing is, too, is like I was thinking for the next segment, I was like, honestly, I decided not to, but now I'm kind of like, maybe I want to do some of the demos in CRT. Like, it just looks so damn cool.
It is very hipster, but it's very cool.
Yeah, well, makes me nostalgic. That's what it is. All right, Matt, that's all the news for this week. Hey, you over there, you got some work to get done? Well, how about we make you get it done even better, faster, and using free software whenever possible? That's what this segment's going to be all about on this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. And before we get to that, I want to tell you about our segment sponsor, System 76. Creators, designers of machines born to run Linux. They got, speaking of going back to school, they got some great back-to-school specials on laptops, desktops. Go over there right now, system76.com. Get yourself a machine that'll run Linux not today, not tomorrow, but forever. And every update goes on nice and smooth. You stop fighting with your hardware. You stop having to worry about drivers. You get to play with your Linux, play with your games. But even more important, get your work done. You know, there's a lot of different options out there for Linux machines. But one thing I can tell you is if you want a long-term trouble-free experience, and I have the Bonobo here, and I think one of the reasons why I've had such success with a rolling release, honestly, is because I'm never worrying about hardware support. I don't have to worry about a kernel update that breaks something because I have some weird thing. It's none of that. And the other nice thing is I know System 76 has some amazing machines built right here in the U.S. that run Linux, like Champs, great for gaming, like the Leopard Extreme, also great for media production, and you can save up to $200 or more on the Leopard Extreme right now.
Woo! Man,
never been a better time.
Love one of those.
System76.com. Go over there, get yourself something nice, and tell them the Linux Action Show sent you. Oh, man, that Ultra Pro.
Gaming on that liquid-cooled goodness.
Ooh!
Telling you.
Oh. All right, Matt. So we have a series of Q&As that are gonna kick off some coverage. Our first one came in 10 days ago. It came from Gabriel. It says, "Hi there, Chris, Matt, JB producers in the last community. Some episodes ago, there was a last section reviewing a Chromebook. More and more Chromebooks are coming out from all the other ones. He's wondering if we could look at that and maybe talk about some new ways to install Linux on there. So, Matt, you've got
I do
the C720 from Acer. You can unplug it.
Unplug that. There we go. Okay.
The battery should last long enough. And this is like your kind of your most well-supported Chromebook right now. This is the C720, and there's a lot of different scripts, guides, tutorials, tricks to get Linux just up and running on there. And there's everything from Crouton. Crouton allows you to essentially use a chroot and run Chrome OS and Ubuntu or other things side by side. There's full-fledged methods to get Linux on there, all kinds of stuff. C720 also is about to get an update to an i3 processor. I think you're going to be able to stick up to 6 gigs of RAM in that thing. Yeah, so starting to become maybe a serious contender. I don't know. We'll see. I still am a little skeptical of these devices.
Yeah.
Here's my take on the Chromebooks.
Okay.
If it's your main machine, it's a no-go, I think.
You think?
I think if it's a secondary machine, if it's a backup machine, if it's a mobile machine, if it's a couch machine, something you're using on the couch,
sure,
fine.
Oh, okay.
Don't make it your main computer. It's just not smooth enough yet. However, I want to cover a few things. If you have the C720 or a couple other supported models, we have them listed in the show notes. But let's, for the sake of making this clear to understand, let's assume you're using the Acer C720. You can make this thing essentially completely forget it's a Chromebook altogether. I'm talking...
No kidding.
Like, if you boot this thing up right now, it'll come up and say, "Warning, you are in developer mode, and the Chrome OS installation cannot be verified. Are you sure you want to continue? I recommend you press spacebar." And if you hit spacebar, it'll undo my Linux installation. So it is not great. And there's a couple of different ways you can take this. One, and this has been the more traditional one, the one that I avoided, is you can crack open the bottom. I've got a picture in the show notes that shows you the different screws. There's 12 screws you have to remove, including the one that breaks the warranty seal.
Okay.
You pop those bad mamma jammas off, and then one of these screws, and I have it listed in the show notes, is one that you pull out, and it is the read-only screw.
Oh.
You pull this read-only screw out, and now you can start doing neat things to the firmware.
Interesting. A read-only screw. That's a new one.
Mm-hmm. But there's actually some other cooler ways where you can replace the firmware that comes on this that's trying to look for Chrome OS constantly with just an open source BIOS that works with any operating system. And it turns out, Matt, that it's actually not that hard to do. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of steps. I want you to hold down the Control key, the Alt key, and now hit T.
T as in Tom.
Yeah, as in Tom. And that'll bring up the Chrome web browser there, which brings into a shell. I think it's called Crush or something like that.
Yeah,
but type in there. And see, it's in the browser, in a tab in the browser. Now type in the word shell. Okay, that'll bring up, you've probably guessed it, a shell. All right. And now, once you're in there, now put in sudo. So now you're just in a standard sudo and space bash. and now you have root access on this Chromebox.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get.
So at this case, at this point, now I've already done it on this machine, but at this point, you could enable legacy boot, so you could start booting this Chromebook from USB devices like a CD-ROM or a thumbstick and things like that. Now, here's what's crazy, is you can reflash this BIOS with a community-created BIOS, because this CBIOS is open source. You can reflash it once you have root access to a BIOS that doesn't look for Chrome OS at all.
Oh, no kidding.
Essentially, it just it makes this an x86 laptop, and it becomes nothing different than just a netbook.
Wow.
It's no longer a Chromebook at that point. Now, you are reflashing the firmware of the C720. So if something goes wrong, it could be bad. However, I actually had something go very wrong. My BIOS flash went totally tits up, but Chrome OS was still working. I was able to go back into Chrome OS because using the Chrome OS bootloader, went in there, reflashed the legacy BIOS back to something workable, and was able to recover. So I've got descriptions on how to do that in the show notes as well.
Interesting. One of the things I note here in the terminal is that right away it tells you, hey, you got here by mistake.
Yeah,
don't panic.
Right.
I think that's interesting. For the newbies that are like, what's going on? That's
isn't it? Does it feel a little weird to have like a root terminal inside the Chrome web browser?
It does. It feels like I'm like SSH'd or something.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
But what's crazy about that is once you've done this, you have a pretty free. I mean, you got a free BIOS on there. You've got a free operating system on there, and you have a first-class Linux installation. It's not like Linux is sort of like crammed in there with Chrome OS. You can still do a boot. Right now I've got Chrome OS and Elementary OS. This is the next part I want to talk to you guys about. So there's a lot of different distros, obviously, you could put on there. Chrome EOS. It's an Elementary OS installation script for Chromebooks. What's badass about this is what you need to get this going is a thumb drive.
Easy enough.
You plug a thumb drive in, you get root access, which you've already got, and you're essentially there. You do the rest from within Chrome OS. It'll resize the Chrome OS partition. It'll download the installer files. It'll set up Elementary OS. So you see, the first part of this Elementary OS script is actually just getting a root.
Oh, it's just doing what we just
shell.
did. Yeah.
So the first 5 steps are just getting root shell. You plug in your media. It downloads an installation script. Like in this case, it's main.sh-acer-c720. It's got a few preset Chromebooks that it supports.
Yeah.
It reboots, completes the Elementary OS installation, and then at boot up now, you get to select between Elementary OS or Chrome OS.
So you're maintaining Chrome OS as well as having Elementary as an option. So you've not... that's kind of cool.
And what I really like about it is that was possible to achieve in the past. This is easy enough that if you're going to college, you're going to high school or whatever, and you've got a Chromebook and you just want a computer that does a little more, you could take somebody, like maybe you're a friend, or you could either give them the steps, or you could grab somebody's Chromebook and set them up for this in like 10 minutes, and they have a full-fledged Elementary OS install. Then you do the BIOS flash, and they've got an x86 laptop from top to bottom that's no longer a Chromebook at all. Essentially, they just had Google subsidize the cost for.
Wow.
Makes it a really nice solution.
That's really cool.
And Elementary OS runs really nice on the Chromebook.
Now, what's it do for partition sizing as far as like, you have a lot
some
of
options.
Okay.
You got some options. I went, because Chrome OS is supposed to be a cloud OS, I gave it a tiny bit of disk.
Because screw it, right?
Yeah, I thought it doesn't need a disk, right? Give it all to Chrome OS. So
you got that option. You could actually calculate how much. Oh, that's nice.
So now I'm going to make it my son's computer.
Oh, nice, right?
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it to him as sort of his dedicated computer. Also, check out, we'll have a link in the show notes to the Acer C720 Chromebook wiki page for Arch. Talks about how you turn on developer mode, which you'll need to know to get in to do some of this kind of stuff.
Very cool.
And a warning to you.
Okay.
Activating some of this stuff like developer mode will wipe out your Chromebook.
Oh.
Most people, I think Chromebooks probably resync from the cloud, so it doesn't matter. But here's the other thing. Once you go Elementary OS, you lose out on all of the Google Cloud stuff. So comes time to build our own cloud. And this would, of course, apply to any Linux desktop. It doesn't have to be a Chromebook, but once you put Elementary OS on there or Arch or something, you're going to need to replace some of those services. So Rascal Lavera writes in. He says, "Hey all, I was just redoing some droplets today, and I remembered Chris last saying that he'd set up OwnCloud 7 on his DigitalOcean droplet, but I couldn't find how he set that up. Could you give us some pointers?"
Okay.
Yes, I could. So it turns out installing OwnCloud is really, really crazy easy. I got links to everything you need in the show notes, but here's the quick and dirty of it. Okay. On my DigitalOcean droplet, I installed Ubuntu 14.04. I just found this to be easiest reviewing the OwnCloud installation documents. It's 3 commands to get OwnCloud 7 installed on Ubuntu 14.04. I have those 3 commands in the show notes, but the reason why it's so damn easy is they're taking advantage of the OpenSUSE build service. So you go in here, and they will generate from the build service the repos you need. So like I chose Ubuntu, but here's Red Hat Enterprise, here's SUSE, of course, here's straight vanilla Debian, here's Fedora. But you go in here, Debian, you just grab this line, and this line is executing a command to add the OwnCloud repo to your Ubuntu box's sources list. Then you do an update and you install. And from that point forward, you will receive all OwnCloud updates directly from the OwnCloud project.
That is so cool.
That's their official way for installing it from the OwnCloud docs. Yeah. It makes it crazy easy to get OwnCloud up and going. Once you have that installed, you just go to localhost/OwnCloud in your web browser. If you're installing on your local machine, HTTP localhost/OwnCloud, or your DigitalOcean IP if you're doing it on a DigitalOcean droplet. And then you have OwnCloud set up and installed. So I'll show you my OwnCloud. You've probably seen me show it on the air before from the web UI perspective. And here's what that looks like when you get logged in here. And I have some Jupyter Broadcasting stuff here. You can see here's some production stuff, some music. I have some photos on here. I like the web interface. This is not how I'm using OwnCloud these days.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No, in fact, I very, very rarely am using the web interface. I'll show you 2 ways I'm using OwnCloud now that really make me happy. First of all is I've integrated it into my GNOME desktop. There's ways to do this with other Linux desktops, but I'm a GNOME user.
Yeah, it's kind of where you roll. It's your
I'll show you
wheelhouse.
my GNOME setup. So you go into your GNOME settings here. Once you have your OwnCloud server set up, you click on your online accounts, and then right here I have OwnCloud. And I am able, on my GNOME desktop, to sync my calendar, contacts, documents, and files with my OwnCloud server that I have up on my DigitalOcean droplet. And see, when I bring down my calendar here, you can see right here I have entries on my calendar that are populated by my OwnCloud server. Right there in my GNOME calendar. How sweet is that?
Because I don't... Oh, wow. That...
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
also, as you... Now, this next part you're probably not a huge fan of, but as you've probably guessed, too... it'll pull it up in Evolution, and I can actually see all of the calendar events from OwnCloud in Evolution. And it's funny because at some point my Google stuff just broke. I don't even need it anymore.
Yeah, because I was just about to say Google. No, not anymore. I mean,
then on top of that, I've got the OwnCloud sync client right here. I can get a snapshot of my disk space usage on my OwnCloud server, the general sync activity that I've done recently, all of the change files, any general settings, things like that. So I have essentially a Dropbox-like component to this too. Any files I add that are pointed at this folder is pointed at, in this case it's Home, Chris F, OwnCloud, automatically sync across all of my systems that have the OwnCloud client and my OwnCloud server. Last but not least, sometimes I don't want to have everything pulled down. I don't want to sync absolutely everything.
Selective sync, if you will.
OwnCloud's also available via WebDAV. So I've also mapped my OwnCloud's file system into my file system using WebDAV. So here you can see this is the file system of my OwnCloud server that I can operate from directly. I don't need to have the OwnCloud sync client. I don't need to use the web client. I could open up these documents directly in LibreOffice, edit these files, and I am directly editing the files off of my OwnCloud server.
Oh, dude, that's fantastic.
Here's
it's like
a PDF.
The best of local and remote.
Well, I didn't actually really want to open that file up, but well, all right. Okay, thanks, LibreOffice. You can also pull up PDFs. I've played movie files off of this. What's so cool about this, Matt, is everything I am doing would also then be synced in real time to all of my machines that have the OwnCloud client, even if they don't have the WebDAV shared map. Right. So I'm able to access it directly on my file system with the applications that need it that way, through the OwnCloud client or through the sync, through the OwnCloud web client or through the sync client.
I like it.
Yeah, it's really neat. And then last but not least, any files that I create in here are linkable through the OwnCloud interface. So say I have this great picture of Dylan playing mini golf, right? Yeah. You got to share that with folks. Now with OwnCloud, you can go right in here, and I could share links with you or a group of people. I can also I have groups set up like Jupyter Production and stuff like that. This is really awesome if you're working with schoolmates, you're working with people just in business, you have your own local OwnCloud instance set up. Some folks can interact with it directly on the file system, throw them through the web browser, whatever. And here's, by the way, that same LibreOffice document right here. I can pull it up and edit it in OwnCloud.
That is crazy. I love that. That is just really dynamite.
It's been really cool to play with this and get even more functionality. The one thing caveat I will give you is I haven't thrown tons and 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 tons of files at this.
Okay, so it's been sparingly used. Sure.
Yeah, I've been mostly using it for like picture files, music files. The one sync service that I've really thrown a lot behind is BitTorrent Sync, which brings us to our next question. Donnie Ziesen writes in. He says, hello, what are your experiences regarding synchronization, saying using OwnCloud or BitTorrent Sync? I want to sync PDFs, some as big as 200 megabytes across laptops and Android devices. I will start by reading and annotating on one device, and maybe I'll move to another. All my devices regularly go offline. It'd be nice to sync only the changes and not constantly upload and download files. How do these services also handle conflicts? Great question. Lots of really good responses, too, you guys might want to read. But I thought the core question was good because it's one I've been struggling with as well, is what do I want to use for my file sync? Dropbox, BitTorrent Sync, OwnCloud. I was almost totally ready to absolutely drop Dropbox. And then those guys rolled out a terabyte of storage for $9.
I know. Didn't that just kill you? It's just like,
I'm like,
really, guys?
Now I have a terabyte? I was like, okay.
It's kind of hard to throw that away.
And, and Dropbox is integrated into a lot of things, especially on mobile. That's nice, too.
And my note-taking app uses it, and it's just like,
BitTorrent Sync, and also I think it might be worth, Donnie, considering SyncThing.
Yeah. I know a lot of people swear by it. I can honestly say I've not had enough experience with it to form a hardened opinion, but my limited experiences with it were kind of meh.
Yeah, it's a little, for me, it doesn't work for me because everything I have in BitTorrent Sync, I also like to share publicly with people for the most part. SyncThing's, what it does is you have machines that are in clusters, they discover each other, and then you add the machines to different clusters, and then they are allowed to sync to each other. If you've got 3 or 4 machines, you control all of them, and you want to sync between them, SyncThing works really well. It's amazing also as a LAN solution. If you've got a bunch of people you want to sync with, maybe hundreds of people you want to sync with, or a lot of machines, and maybe you only want to sync one folder with one machine and one folder with a completely different machine, then I think BitTorrent Sync is a better solution because BitTorrent Sync, you just give somebody the shared secret. They can add it to their machine. It's a great way, for example, to like publish a back catalog of a show where you have hundreds of files in there that maybe 1,000 people want to have access to. That would be a nightmare with SyncThing. But with BitTorrent Sync, it's really straightforward. Here's the downside to BitTorrent Sync versus SyncThing. First of all, SyncThing's open source, top to bottom, right? The development's done in the open, the protocol's done in the open, disclosures are done in the open, all of that's done in the open. When you're talking about your data, you can't underestimate how important that is. That's one thing that SyncThing has going for it. The other thing, and I have not tried this with SyncThing, but with BitTorrent Sync, I threw BitTorrent Sync at my wife's photo collection, thinking, well, here I go. Yeah. Every time my wife adds a photo, BitTorrent Sync in the background, we'll sync it up to our home server. I'll have our home server going off to Spider Oak, and I'll never lose another. She'll never lose another picture ever again. Matt, my wife has like 500 gigs of photos. Oh, and that means tons and tons of
grinding
files
all the time. Just
constant. And I've been told that BitTorrent Sync actually generates a torrent file for every file, and then it has to checksum all of those to compare them with the copy on the client versus the copy on the server. And so when you have thousands upon tens of thousands of files, what I found is that BitTorrent Sync was eating up all of the CPU on our home server and a lot of the CPU on her desktop.
Right.
Dropbox doesn't suffer from that. I don't know about SyncThing. I don't know about OwnCloud. So I have run into scalability issues with BitTorrent Sync. But for the most part, out of all of them, BitTorrent Sync I like a lot. There's a new contender, though, Matt. Brand new contender for syncing your files. And its biggest advantage is it comes with 50 gigabytes for free.
Ooh.
It's called MegaSync. It's from the Mega guys, mega.co.nz website. They've just released the Linux client this week. It's written in Qt. It's primarily available for Ubuntu. There's also Debian, Fedora, OpenSUSE builds, Arch builds. They include a Nautilus extension as well, so it'll integrate with your Nautilus file manager. One nice thing is you can upload and link to mega files directly, not something so easy to do with SyncThing.
That's nice.
That's nice. And the UI looks decent. It has selective sync as well. They also plan to open source components of it. Yeah, that's exactly. I don't mean to be negative, but it seems like if you want something like this, the advantage to this is they provide the storage. They provide 50 gigabytes of cloud storage. The disadvantage to things like BitTorrent Sync and SyncThing is you bring all your own storage. There's no cloud component to those.
True.
I solve that by having a Dropbox, or I'm sorry, a droplet running BitTorrent Sync. That's my cloud storage.
Exactly.
And then I have OwnCloud on that same machine. And now OwnCloud is able to look at the folders that are also synced by BitTorrent Sync. So I have kind of married the two solutions.
Well, not only that, but all the CPU eating is happening offsite.
Yeah, buddy.
Let them deal with it.
Let something else chew on it for a while.
Exactly.
Exactly. I have a folder in my OwnCloud that also syncs over BitTorrent Sync. So for some, I kind of use a combination.
Of
the two
like
things.
That.
I use
because I've been using a BitTorrent Sync / Dropbox situation.
Yeah,
because I do a lot of BitTorrent syncing locally, and also one-off remote.
I got a little Dropbox.
Yeah, I do too. That terabyte's just kind of like.
And last but not least, once you've gotten your CBIOS flashed, so that way your Chromebook's a straight-up x86 machine, once you got Elementary OS installed on there, once you got OwnCloud set up so you have your own cloud storage solution, it's now time to play. That's why in the show notes I have linked how to run Dota 2 on a Chromebook using Linux. Yep.
Wow.
The C720 model can actually run Dota 2. I don't know how good it's going to work. You'll need an SD card. You'll need the C720 3404 model from Amazon.
Okay, well it's model specific.
And then you get Elementary OS on there. You get the Steam client. You can get Dota running.
You're gonna run Dota 2 on Elementary on a Chromebook. So you gotta no.
I know, but people are doing it. I'm telling you, it's crazy. The Chromebook craze is nuts. At the end of the day, I say use it as a secondary machine. But take some of the stuff we've talked. Here's the great part, right? You take BitTorrent Sync, you take SyncThing, or you take OwnCloud. You use those on all your machines. It makes the Chromebook part of that overall ecosystem that you've now got. All your Linux boxes are syncing. I think OwnCloud's a great way to go if you can. But if you just want only the sync capability, I say for now, look at BitTorrent Sync. If you're just doing 3 or 4 machines, consider SyncThing. I think maybe long-term SyncThing might be the best bet.
Yeah.
But for today, I think BitTorrent Sync might be the better product for now.
I think so. It's definitely an all-inclusive situation.
And if you want to share publicly, I think BitTorrent Sync is sort of a slam dunk.
Oh, yes.
All right, Matt, that's the Linux Action Show's tips for making you get more work done on your own cloud. And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. But Matt,
yes,
before we go, we got some emails to cover.
Alrighty.
Our first one comes in from Michael. Actually, I think 4 or 5 folks sent this one in, but I noticed Michael's email first. He says, I spotted Ubuntu in the wild in the Motorola Mobility Development Labs. Check it out.
Nice.
And he includes a photo to a CNET article. Boom, right there, Matt.
Sees it.
So you see he's got, I also noticed, look at that, the C720 pointed right at a smartphone, pointed right at a guy's face or a mannequin's face.
I was gonna say, that's a creepy looking guy there.
This mannequin's got some great speakers hooked up to an Ubuntu rig sitting on top of a portable rack unit.
They're doing some pretty heavy
This is a serious
stuff.
setup. I like this.
This is how I want to use my phone right there.
I felt like this wasn't quite enough meat for a Runs Linux segment, but I want to say thanks to everybody who sent that in. That was really cool.
That's that cool.
I love seeing it in the wild. So Sven writes in. He says, holy cow, LAS is awesome. Hey, guys, my name is Sven, and I'm a recovering Windows user. Anyway, Windows 8 finally pushed my wife and me over the edge, and once we finished hiding the bodies, we decided to go all in with Linux. I've played around with Linux off and on throughout my 20-year career as an educational technologist, but the time has come to burn my Microsoft installation media and commit. I run 3 distros at home. OpenSUSE for my stuff, Elementary OS for my wife, and she says, who is braving the strange new world of Linux, but it's beginning to understand why I'm not a fan of Ubuntu, and CentOS for our home server. Wow, 3 different distros, 1 home.
Wow, that's mad respect. That's cool.
And a bit risky. My question perhaps to the server. It's my first go with a Linux server, and I'm running bare bones CentOS 7 with a couple of Docker containers for services. So far, I've got, I love this. This guy's great. So far, I've got the site up and running at knowledge.synththomas.net, a database of fighting techniques for martial arts studies. Cool. And I'm thinking of hosting both OwnCloud and file share from other containers. So here are my questions. Boy, I love it. I'm familiar with VMware, Hyper-V, VirtualBox, etc. when it comes to virtualization, but I'm still new to Linux's concepts of containerization. Do I need to worry about cross-container vulnerabilities, or should I rethink my plan of hosting my website in personal cloud from the same Docker instance? Yeah, you need to, anytime you have software that's accepting remote connections, you have to worry about that software being infected and then attacking the other software.
Sure.
From a security standpoint, if you have nothing running as root in the containers, they're not going to necessarily like take over your box directly, but they could still be used to go bang on the services running next to them. Number 2, any recommendations? The server is only 60% complete, but it's still going very well. Read not a single issue. And I thought I'd ask you guys about the best practices before I go on and do something stupid. Anyways, thanks for such an awesome show. I learned something new every episode. Sven. Oh, and by the way, he's a gnome guy.
Oh,
every time I use KD, I end up in the fetal position, rocking back and forth, blubbering insanities.
Oh, you and me both.
But it's better than what happens when I try to use Metro, he says.
True. Well, that's true. Yeah.
So I'm curious to know, it's funny, the chat room says that, hey, he's doing the same thing I am, says Azaris in there. I'm curious to know what he's doing for backups. If he's considered Spider Oak or something like that, Tar Snap would be another great option. So make sure as you're going through with this, Sven, that you got backups from beginning to end. I think it's interesting. My biggest concern is that you're not sticking with OpenSUSE for the server, since it's also your desktop. I think that's a little risky to run 3 different distros on 3 different machines, because if you're a Windows user, it sounds like you've got this pretty well covered. It's just the benefit you get by using OpenSUSE for your desktop and your server is anything you learn on your desktop, it will be applicable to your server. Scripts you create for your desktop, you can run on your server, vice versa. Things you want to try out, you can try out first on your desktop before you try them on your server. You're already so far down the path that it's probably not a big deal. CentOS is a pretty good choice, and the fact that you're using Docker on top of that also gives you some additional flexibility. Sure. I like all of those things. I do. That was my biggest red flag is guys like Sven come into Linux and they go all crazy. They try out every distribution under the sun. They get confused, they get lost, and they get frustrated. Instead of just sort of learning something from beginning to end, learning that community, learning the ins and outs of how you get packages, where you get your packages from, all that kind of stuff.
I don't have a concern in that. I feel like this is a person that actually is reading the documentation, that is actually understanding the caveats. He actually has the wisdom to say, hey,
he's gotten far so far, right?
Yeah. Is there anything I'm not doing that I should be? And that is going to be what I think makes this okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, Sven, check out... yeah, you're already so far in this, but you might check out CoreOS too if you're really playing a lot with containers.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go and try all the flavors, you might as well go all in.
Real-time follow-up from the chat room. When we took our segment break last week, they reminded me, I'd forgotten about California, which is the new calendar application for GNOME 3. It's under heavy development. This also uses the GNOME Evolution data server backend. That's actually kind of a good thing, though, because that's what's communicating with my own cloud server to synchronize my calendar and tasks and stuff like that. So if you wanted to have access to that, but you didn't necessarily want to use all of Evolution, that's where California comes in. I think I still have it running here somewhere.
Yeah, I thought.
Oh, there it is.
There you go.
So this is California. You can see there's last on my schedule. This is the week view. You can switch to month view, and there's also day view. And it's just a really straightforward calendar. And any events I add here would show up on, I could also add it to the production calendar on OwnCloud. It's really cool.
It is very cool. And it looks like it just mimics the theme that you happen to be using on your desktop.
Yeah, and it becomes a really nice graphical way to locally interact with a calendar that syncs back to my own.
I like it. Yeah, see, I can see myself using that. I have no problem with the Evolution backend. It's the front end that just kind of,
well, it's
kind
just
of I'm done with it.
Do you want the whole mail client with all this stuff when you just want access to the calendar?
And I used it for years, and I just ran myself into the ground with it.
Yeah, so that's California. Also, I haven't tried getting it to work with Lightning, but I think anything that I think it would probably work with pretty much anything that can subscribe to an iCal file.
Yeah, no, Lightning's pretty flexible. Probably would.
Yeah. So California would be another way to interact with your own cloud. So, hey, Matt.
Yeah.
I know you're often up to some shenanigans over at Geek and the Gamer, right?
Always.
Come on, Steve. Let's go home.
Is that a bike?
Yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am. Would you like a bicycle? Sir,
this is your bike. We're just making
sir, would you like a bicycle?
This is your bike, dude. I mean, like, seriously.
Steve feels right at home.
I guess he didn't want the bike, Matt.
Did not want the bike.
Little Half-Life 2 on Geek and the Gamer.
Absolutely.
Love
good
it.
stuff. We had a good time with it. We're going to be doing more of them. So
that's awesome. So go over to youtube.com/geekandthegamer for the Let's Play with Matt and some. I was over there this morning when I was checking out the video, and I noticed the.
Goat Sim.
I never watched. Yeah, I noticed the Goat Sim. I never watched the Super Meat Boy episode. I don't think I saw that you did it, but I don't think I ever watched it.
Yeah,
so.
we're still doing a few of those. Actually, we're doing some Super Meat Boy. I can't play it because it's too difficult. My nephew can because he's just more adept to that sort of thing. But for me, it's
Shank
beyond
more your
frustration.
speed. Shank more
Shank's
your
right at my speed. Yeah. It involves more shanking.
All right. Well, maybe I don't want to watch videos. Maybe I want to read a little bit. Matt. Where would I go?
Datamation.com. Scroll down to open source. Otherwise, hit the show notes.
Productivity apps. That'd probably be a good companion reading piece with today's episode.
Absolutely.
So go check that. Oh, you know, Project Hamster and Synergy are both really good ones right there.
They are.
Not to spoil it, of course. Also, don't forget to check out Linux Unplugged, where you get both Matt and myself more in your ear canals. We'll have a new new episode on Tuesday. We had on episode 56 an in-depth discussion of the new Universal Package Installer, if you want to call it that. It actually gets rid of packages. No more RPMs or debs for you, dear user.
Nope.
That is if the systemd cabal has their way, and we talked about that in One Packager for All, episode 56 of Linux Unplugged, if you didn't catch that. It's a good episode.
Absolutely.
Also, I'll recommend you go check out the faux show. We do it live over at jblive.tv just after the Linux Action Show. Did you know we do the Linux Action Show live?
We do. We're live right now.
10 a.m. Pacific, jblive.tv, jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar to get in your local time zone. We also want your emails. Right. Send your emails in, of course. jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact, or even better, linuxactionshow.reddit.com. The Reddit makes me talk like this because it's so incredible.
It's extreme.
linuxactionshow.reddit.com. Feedback, votes, stories, comments, all welcome there.
So much stuff.
Or the chat room's also good over at jblive.tv. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week. I had something I wanted to play real quick.
Oh, yeah?
And if we like it, I thought we could put it in the outtakes.
Oh, there
I don't
we
know
go.
if we'll like it or not, so let's watch this real quick, and then we'll get started. Here.
Okay.
See what we get. This is supposed to be Life at Red Hat.
Oh, cool.
Welcome to Red Hat Tower.
Thank you.
Our 19-story global headquarters in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
We have a wide variety of people working here, from sales to support, from marketing to people team, to finance to legal, to IT and real estate. This is our ninth floor community space, which is a gathering area for our associates to relax and chill and collaborate with each other. Our associates can gather together for breakfast, lunch, and just quick snacks. This is our gaming area. They can play ping pong, they play pool, foosball.
I'm telling you, they're the new Google.
I would totally do this.
They're the new Google.
Oh, they got a foosball
We
table.
have a lot of fun at Red Hat, and we work hard too. All around Red Hat Tower, you'll find places to get together and get your work done. There's room at the desk to collaborate, thanks to our open workplace design. There are large meeting places for big events, and also more private, convenient spaces for one-on-one interaction.
MacBook.
Oh, did you? Oh, no. See, that's disappointing.
Up here on the 10th floor, we of course have offices, but we also have 2 workout rooms. So one of our rooms is set up for weight training with dumbbells and free weights. And in this room, you have your traditional cardio equipment. You know, Red Hatters like to live healthy.
Yeah.
We bike to work.
See?
We
I'm
play
healthy.
flag football.
I know what
at
you're all
lunch.
talking
We
about.
have an indoor soccer team. And
I want a
we
red
even
hat like
sponsor
that. Look at
global health
those.
events.
Oh, those are cool to get.
Banana
We're
Man.
passionate
Fedora.
about more than just health. Some Red Hatters brew their own beer, roast their own coffee, and get together
Grow
and
their own
get back
stuff.
to the raw.
They're even human beings. They also poop and eat meals.
Oh, this must be the lunchroom with the rice one.
Linux.
See, Coca-Cola and Red Hat. I
Totes
rest my
unknown.
case.
I totes unknown. And we're hiring. See, yeah, they're totally the new Googs. Look at
Yes.
this. How are they? They're so
I just gotta
the
go
new
get
Googs.
myself some skills, and I'll be all about it.
Red Hat, everybody. Red Hat. Go work at the new Googs, everybody. Go
Telling
work
you.
at the new Googs. Now, what's the sign when you're addicted to something? What's the indication, like, if you have a habit that it's hard for you to focus on other things?
Oh, that's not it.
What would be like an indicating? What would be
Addicted.
something that somebody might pick up on that somebody has a problem and is unable to focus on their work responsibilities?
Maybe like holding yourself, rocking back and forth, or I don't know. That's a tough one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
While you think about it, I'm gonna play a little Race the Sun.
All right.
Okay. I find it mentally stimulating. Here we go.
Stimulating.
Oh, it's stimulating, all right. Okay, so the problem is this first round is like you just got to get through it. It's just not fast enough to get me excited. Sometimes I get a little bored and I get distracted. So I can't get through it because I get bored. So you gotta see how you gotta.
Sounds like you're making music.
You gotta shuck and jive, Matt. You gotta
shuck and jive.
Yeah,
eh?
you see. Oh, don't go in there. See, that's bad.
Yeah.
You'd think, oh, that's a cool tunnel. Let's go in there. You could.
You're gonna have a bad time.
There's some stuff at the end, but you know, it's just not worth it because you lose a whole bunch of sunlight. All right, so now you get your bird poop here.
Oh, that's some serious bird poop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Now we get the bird poop accelerator here. Boom. All right. Now we're starting to pick up speed a little bit. Now it's time for region 2. This is where it starts. Oh, see, it's already getting hard. It's already getting too hard for Chris. I'm an old man, Matt. It's got to go.
Oh my God, it's all over.
This is where they start changing the terrain on you in real time, and that just seems like a jerk move. Whenever games do that.
Yeah. Well,
right?
no, that's okay though. Keeps you.
Yeah.
Keeps
All right.
aware.
You gotta keep. So like these guys. Look at that. Look at them moving.
Gotta use your noodle.
Why they gotta do that? Why they gotta do me like that, Matt? Whoa. See, I had a little jump there.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, did you see? Oh,
You're gonna be kissing wall there.
See, you gotta shuck and jive, Matt. You gotta shuck and jive. Just gotta shuck and jive. All right, so now we gotta go over here. Oh, watch out for those guys. Oh, the greens jump. So let's get up out of there because it's dark.
Yes.
Nobody likes the shade. In this game, it's all about your solar power.
Oh, right. Otherwise, you come to a standstill.
So here we go.
You're pretty good at this.
Perfect region. A perfect region, and I have a 10x multiplier right now. Let's do this. Oh, man, that bird. Oh, it's too far away. It's too far away. All right, give me the accelerator, birdie.
There you go.
All right, now this is where I'm probably going to die.
Oh, hey. Whoa. No. Oh, shit.
That's what I'm saying, Matt. That's what I'm saying. See, this game starts to get to be a jerk.
Yep, there you go. It's like, you know what?
Oh, I missed the portal. The portal's super cool. I wish I would have gotten that portal. My sun is setting. You see that?
Losing sun.
I am losing sunlight.
Running out of sun. Uh-oh. Activate jump.
Oh, no. Oh, there's the other portal. I missed it. Shoot. Oh, no.
It's all over.
Oh, there's another portal. I missed the other portal. Oh, no, I'm so screwed.
Oh, eating wall.
I was out of there. I could tell I was losing it, Matt.
You ate small. It's okay, though.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's all right.